Welcome. We are the Matterhorn Yodelers. We are three siblings that can't stop yodeling about Disney. I'm Jackie and my two brothers,
Peter.
Japheth.
Today we are excited to talk about where our love of Disney all started. Though we all love Disney, we all have different favorite parts of Disney. Come join us on our journey. Today's podcast, we are discussing why we love Disney. Japheth, what is your Disney story?
So my Disney story is, I'm a Disney fan because I love the products. Starting with animation, live action films, TV programs, the parks, and the acquired products that they've done like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Marvel, and ESPN. I love the joy of the memories that Disney Company has facilitated in life. I'm a very nostalgic person, and Disney allows me to tap into those nostalgic feelings from the different periods of my life. My earliest memories of Disney comes from those brand, sugar cereals, and you get those prizes. Now I think those are illegal to get.
They probably are.
I think they're illegal, and
I don't think they put it in the cereal.
No,
it's
they don't
outside.
put it. Yeah, it's outside the cereal now.
so that was kind of so I remember I got one of those Disney Afternoon cartoon figurines. So this is before you're even alive, Jackie, and Peter's very young.
Little boy.
Little boy. And so I remember getting a cartoon figurine, and it was Don Canard. Don Canard, and it was kind of special growing up because getting brand cereal was kind of very special, and so we would get it was rare to get box cereal, let alone get a toy in our cereal, because either it came in a bag or cereal or it was Cheerios, and you never got any toys in Cheerios. But let me digress, and it was a special because I remember going to Disneyland in '91, so it was kindergarten, and I remember seeing the motorboat cruise. I actually had to look that up because I just knew it was the boat rides. It was in the area between Small World and Matterhorn, and so I remember seeing Gummy Bear.
Yeah, I remember.
Gummy Glen.
I actually do remember being on the ride.
You remember being on the ride?
I remember the Gummy Bear wooden cardboard.
Oh yeah, it was very
cutouts.
cheap.
It was very cheap, but I do, for some reason, I do have that memory of being in the boat for that. That's my only memory of the motorboats.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing the cutout and be like, oh wow, it's my cartoons. They're here at the park, and that's my earliest memory. So I was able to establish something I like at home with the parks, because we didn't really have the VHS tapes before then, and then later on you got the Disney Classic Animation VHS tapes where everyone can remember opening, you hear that crinkling sound, before you watch those movies. And me and Peter watched Peter Pan and Robin Hood, Running Around to the Intro, The Jungle Book. Those are some of the movies I just remember watching over and over, and it was a part of my childhood. Because other than that, what other cartoons were there? The American Dream, or not the Fievel movies.
Fievel Goes West.
Yeah, Fievel Goes West.
American Tail.
The American Tail. Yeah, that movie. That was it. And so after that, it was watching those films. I grow up and watch Indiana Jones. It was either the American Tail or Indiana Jones at Grammy's house.
Grandma's house, yeah.
Yeah, you would watch the one scene from Indiana Jones over and over where they're pulling out the heart.
Would I just remember that my favorite part was and for dessert, monkey brains. I just loved it. And so, even though Indiana Jones wasn't Disney is acquired, and so it is. I still associated part of my childhood how Disney is taken parts and has consolidated it. And so next, you got Star Wars. And that was a game changer. All the books and the video games from there. And then you have Friday nights with TGIF. For me, it was Boy Meets World, Family Matters, Step by Step, Full House. Remember Dinosaur?
Dinosaur.
Yeah. Tata Mama. I hated that show, but yet I still watched it.
Dinosaur. Get on the floor. Everyone loves the dinosaur.
There was Hanging Mr. Cooper.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Oh my goodness, that takes me back.
Mr. Cooper, Mr. Yeah, and so you have like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and so and then as I get older, it's ESPN and watching college football and NBA, so I can talk to my friends. So Disney's been a part of it, and then the crown jewel of my Disney fandom is going to the parks with my family and. Able to leave the crazy world behind, the insecurities of puberty and adolescence, and going into a safe place to explore with my imagination and ride rides with my family and create good memories. And then, I like being in the Disney park so much that I thought it'd be so much fun because Peter did college program, and, I was like, boy, he has great memories. And I was like, well, I'll do it. And I thought it'd be fun. And so I worked at the college program at Walt Disney World and at Mission Space, and it was a blast. And so much fun. I decided to stay there and work part-time, full-time at Magic Kingdom's Adventureland Liberty Square, working at the Haunted Mansion, Magic Carpets of Aladdin, and Tiki Room, Swiss Family Treehouse. I mean, it helped develop me later on, just in my early adulthood, working at Disney. And so Disney has been a big part in my evolving experiences of my life, and I will continue as I begin to share some of these similar experiences with my own daughter. Though she's only 4 months old, it's never too early to get her started, right? So.
Never too early to indoctrinate your children.
And that's what I said. We've been indoctrinated by our parents, so might as well stay consistent, right?
That's right.
It's the family tradition.
So that's kind of like why I'm a Disney fan. It's just the backstory and just the memories, and like I said, I'm nostalgic, and I love pulling back and feeling the joy from those memories. And Disney is definitely intertwined with a lot of the memories.
So of all the attractions you worked at, which one was your favorite?
Oh, it has to be Haunted Mansion. It was so cool to have people come up and be like, you have my dream job. And I'm all like, you have my dream paycheck, it was just fun just to not be on, where you don't have to be so angry. Or no, you don't have to be so happy, and then I could just be me. And so I was perfect there, because I just had that natural resting, I don't want to be here face. Everyone's, why are you so angry? So I was meant for the Haunted Mansion, and it was perfect. I loved it. It was a fun experience.
So, because we all know the Disney company has many avenues behind it. We have the theme parks, movies, and such. What would you say would be your core interest within the Disney company itself?
I would say the first thing is the parks. Love the parks just because of working in it. You appreciate what's going on around you, and seeing how the cast members work and how much goes behind a show. I appreciate it, but the media is a part of my life too. I've been consuming it since I was 4.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say.
Okay.
Those are the main areas.
That's cool. So Jackie, why don't you give us your story?
I can't remember a time when there wasn't Disney a part of my life. I'm the youngest of the family, and so I can't even remember my first time going to Disneyland, because we would go to at least Disneyland every year, and
So braggy.
I know. No. We were really
I was struggling with Cheerios, and you're like, I went to Disneyland all the time.
No, but just that it was always a part of it, so I don't remember one point where it's like, I love Disney. It was just already there since I could remember. And so when I was growing up, and I was like more of a teenager age. That's when I really grew into like love of Disney, of like movies and the music. I love Disney music. I would like have that big like, it was like a square brick of an MP3 player I would bring on the bus to middle school.
Yeah, I think I have them.
Yeah. And I would just listen to Disney music, and all the other like cool kids would be like listen to like rap and like the really popular music, and I was like, I want to be where the people are, you know, and just listening to Disney music. And so I was always like classified like, oh, you're a Disney nerd, and I never thought of myself as a Disney nerd, and if I compare myself today, I would not consider myself a Disney nerd.
Yeah, once you go to Disney World and you meet them, like I remember it was D-Day. It was like June 6th, and it was like, you know what today is? It's like, well, today is the day where, you know, the garbage can third from Dinosaur was painted orange, and you're just like, get away, you nerd! Like, it's D-Day, like.
Yeah, no, I remember it was very interesting because like I would classify myself as a Disney nerd, and you would run into people that would like challenge you on your nerdum and be like, well, can you quote the opening Disneyland speech? And I'm all like, yeah.
It's a wizard battle where the wizard's disappointed that he's this good. It's like, oh gosh, oh, I guess.
No, but I think my Disney, like, when I grew to love Disney was when I definitely started working for the park. So I did the Disney College program after both of my brothers just because I needed to be on the same level as they were. But
high expectations.
No, we always have like a competition of like, oh, I have a high school diploma and you don't, and this was while I was in high school, so
You can't participate in this conversation unless you have a high school diploma. You know, that's what it was like in the house.
Yes, I do remember many of those conversations that I necessarily wouldn't throw out there, but definitely you two were all about that avenue of trying to exclude each other in a weird competitive sense. It was kind of funny to watch.
So that was one part of motivation, being working for Disney. But also, I always wanted to, because Peter always had a fun experience, and I wanted to have that same experience. And so I decided to work in the hotel industry. So I worked bell service at Caribbean Beach, and then front desk at Animal Kingdom Lodge, beautiful lodge, and
Plug.
sponsor me, no. But that's when I really grew to love the business side of Disney, of how Disney does their business side, of like acquiring companies and how they organize their employees and how they're able to create this atmosphere among their employees, paying them like what, minimum wage or the lowest of the low. But
the 3 years I worked there, I went from like $7.20 to like, that was working CP, and then when I went full time it was $8, and when I left it was like $8.23 or something like that. It was just so pitiful.
But just like how Disney creates this like environment where they don't pay you much, but you love the job and you work really hard at it and create this like great magical moments for guests. It's just interesting how some companies, how Disney can achieve that. But if you go to try to apply it to other companies, you will not get the same effect.
Oh yeah, like I remember like coming from Disney, and I moved back to Arizona, and like I'm working for the bug company.
Yeah.
And I'm like spraying someone's house, and someone's got a little kid there. I'm all like, "Oh, what you doing right there?" And I remember the mom just like honey, it's time to go to the room. Don't want to bother the guy. Like, who's this creeper? And it's like a month ago, I'm like talking to kids, doing interactions and magical moments. I was like, oh, magical moments don't exist outside of Magic Kingdom. This is a little weird. I'm just the creeper with like a bug spray thing. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you can't call little kids princesses and pirates or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting how Disney was able to create that atmosphere. I may not agree with it, but I can appreciate how they do it. And so I kind of like the business side, but I also love the parks and the hotel side of Disney. I have a hospitality degree, which I love hotel industry and customer service. And so this was just kind of like my perfect role, and that's kind of how I grew to love Disney today.
So, Jackie, do you regret not going into an attraction like Peter and I?
No, I do not regret working inside the park, because when I was working at the resort, I was able to separate that, and I never really got tired of going to the parks and being at the park. So I would work, 5 days a week, and you would have like 2 days off. Usually that was kind of your schedule as a college program, if you were lucky. And so I made it a priority to make sure on my 2 days off I would be at the park, because it's like one in a lifetime opportunity to go to Disney World. And so I was like, okay, I'll make sure all my laundry's done before my day off, and so that way I could go to the park. So I would always be at the park, even if it was just for a couple hours. But I think I was able to do that because I wasn't working inside the park. Like, if I was working at Magic Kingdom, I think I would get tired of Magic Kingdom and seeing it every day.
You do.
It depends on the person, I would say. Because I don't think, for me, I'm a big fat Disney nerd, so I never got tired of it, and I was in it every single day of the week. Like, any opportunity I could take, I was in a park. Like, anytime I have like my roommates be like, oh, we're gonna go, and this is probably gonna date me, even though like it's weird that I'm like, I'm gonna sound really old with like the things that I got to experience on my college program.
Back in my day.
Back in my day, downtown Disney had nightclubs. And like everyone's like, oh yeah, we're all going. It's college program. It's cast member day. The nightclubs. We're all going. I'm like, I'm going
Tuesday? Was it Tuesday?
I don't remember what day it was. Tuesday or Thursday. It was one of those middle of the week days. But I was like, you're going. I'm going to Epcot. Like, I don't know what you. I'm going to go to. I'm going to watch Illuminations. But no, yeah, I totally get it. I can totally see how some people need that separation. And they were able to fully enjoy their time in the parks without it becoming too much. Because I can tell you, there were times where I'm all like, what am I going to do today? Let's see how long I can sit in front of Cinderella's castle before I get tired of it. And the answer was 8 hours.
Bust out maps. You just use it as a little map.
Yeah, I watched Cinderella-ration about 6 times that day. Saw every performance. Talked to a couple people that actually recognized me from my attraction. That was kind of fun. But
it's always weird when that happens.
Yes.
And it's always fun when when I worked at one attraction, tell them no, they can't do something, and then go to another attraction, start working there mid-shift, and then have them try to look, well, the Haunted Mansion. It's like, I just spoke to you at the Haunted Mansion. Do you not recognize me? Oh, it is you. Yes.
See, I worked at the resort, and if people remembered you, it was because of a bad thing. So
Most of mine were bad.
So whenever I worked at Caribbean Beach and someone lost a luggage and they'd be like yelling, you ruined my vacation, I would be like, I hope I don't see them at the park.
I am the one that ruined your vacation.
I ruined your vacation.
It's almost like you should be knighted at Disney as an employee. Like, you are ruining our vacation, Lord. Here we go. Should be a rite of passage or something. So, Jackie, if you did do an attraction, what attraction would you do to try to try to one up your brothers? Because I mean, we did really
We were
prestigious
at
ones.
the high end, and we'll get into mine in a little
Yeah, it's hard to beat Haunted Mansion, and Peter was Tower of Terror. So it's like, how do you one up that for attraction? Maybe Pirates?
They do have good socks.
bit. Yeah, they do have the fun stripy socks.
It's a fun costume, I would say.
I would say their costumes up there on one of the more interesting ones.
I mean, if we're talking about today, obviously somewhere in Star Wars land would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, Rise of the Resistance.
Rise of the Resistance.
Rise of the Resistance became my new favorite cast member role. Like that would be.
Out of the loop.
I know you're out of the loop. You haven't gone yet, but yeah, that's definitely a role you would enjoy. You would. I think we would all get into
You
that
would be
role.
perfect for it, but yeah, I would say Pirates as far as back when when a role existed when I was working there. I would say Pirates probably, or Jungle Cruise. I don't think I'm skilled enough to do Jungle Cruise. I don't think I can come up with some of those jokes.
Oh, it's all
remember them.
scripted.
It's all scripted.
Oh, they don't.
For the most part, like they say, these are the jokes you're allowed to say.
And at nights when you are able to get away with your
Which, granted, that's when most
CPs.
CPs are doing it,
They're
so
working.
that's when you usually get some of the better shows.
Oh,
It was at
yes.
night because you get the more unique jokes.
I've got
For
so many
sure.
stories. But okay.
Yes.
So Peter, what about your story?
My story, very similar to Japheth's story. Jerry Ferry. You know, honestly, like apparently, I didn't even realize this. The boat, the gummy bear boat ride was before Disney World, but apparently that's my first Disney memory was the gummy ship. But
It blows my mind.
But-
But you're young. I
Yes.
mean, this is like 91, so you're like 3.
yeah, I was like 3. But that's the only
Jackie
part
can't
of it.
remember anything past 7. Like,
I literally can't.
So, but honestly, when it really started for me was when we went to Disney World. I think that trip was the trip that when, again, I was 4. I was still quite young. Or actually, no, I was still 3 because we
Still
were
three, you're
June.
turning 4.
I was turning 4. I was about to turn 4. But I don't know what it was. Like, I couldn't tell you what my emotions were, but I really grew attached to the theme parks and the magic I really felt there, seeing my favorite Disney characters like Goofy and Mickey and, you know, Baloo and all those fun Disney characters in the park. And then, you know, our dad, he compiled our whole Disneyland trip on videotapes, which I watched those like religiously. Like I honestly, like I watched those things so much. Those copies are probably so damaged because of how many times I watched that footage. Even up till now, like Mom and Dad, they gave me the copy. They gave me the digital copy of them, and like I think I've watched it about 3 or 4 times since then. As an adult, married with kids, going back watching myself at the age of 3, 4 at Disney World.
What's the famous quote?
Oh, well, the famous
Yeah.
quote,
Well, set the scene.
set the scene is we're leaving Disney World. We're at the airport. And, you know, it's one of those, like, perfect commercial moments where my dad's filming me. I'm looking at the airplane right before we get on. And I go, I want to go to Disney World. I want to go to Disney World.
Do you know what I was thinking when you were saying that? I was thinking, shut up, you're so whiny. Like, he was whining the whole trip. And then
It's true, I probably was.
it was the cutest moment ever, but yet he was just like, oh, look at it. I was like, ugh, shut up.
And yet, we all have those moments, even today as an adult, where you're just sitting like in an office working, you go, I want to go to Disney World.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that trip definitely was the starting path of my true indoctrination and obsession with Disney. Then eventually, like over time, I mean, obviously there were the movies that I would watch all the time, and it wasn't until I think it was like fourth grade was when I did my first biography on Walt Disney, and that's kind of what sent me down that rabbit hole of truly becoming obsessed. That's when I wanted to become an Imagineer. That's when like my whole point in life was Disney, like everything. I was obsessed with the music. We played the music game in the car where we would have to, which Dad, we didn't figure this out till we were older, but back in the day when we had listened to them on cassette tapes, obviously they're in a specific order. As kids, we don't realize
There's
this.
no shuffle?
There's no shuffle on the cassette tapes, and so like we're all like, "What's that song? Little Mermaid, Little Mermaid." And like Dad would be like, "Oh, next one's Aladdin, and the next one's next one's Beauty and the Beast, next one's Snow White."
One of my stories that I will tell people to kind of describe how much Peter loves Disney is that one day after school he made me sit in a chair and he would
Sit in that chair.
He would play like a Disney movie like song and then the Broadway version, and he'd be like, is this the movie or is this the Broadway?
I was gone for this.
Yeah, I remember
you were
this.
gone.
I remember
Like,
this.
he would
I
do
do.
that, and we probably did this for an hour. I was like,
No, it
can I be
wasn't.
done? And you're like, no, one more, and we kept on going. So it's like the best way I could describe.
Yeah, I was obsessive to the point where I can be like, oh yes, you can hear the chimes better here. So that's obviously the Broadway version compared to the animated version. So yeah, I was the big Disney nerd.
Gosh.
Yeah, and so yeah, I mean, we kept going. We went to Disney a lot. Eventually, we got to the point we were going like at least once a year, traveling out to California. So that became our vacation. I mean, our dad kind of had that motto-ish thing where he says, if it's not Disney, it's not a vacation. So that's just kind of...
It did kind of taint other vacations.
It totally did.
Yeah.
Like, remember we went to Universal Studios?
Oh, that was...
And like
yeah.
they gave us the option. Do you want to go to Disneyland or do you want to go to Universal Studios? Like, oh, let's go to Universal Studios. And I remember I was like, that was a regret. I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
The highlight for that trip was like we rode the ET ride and
Yeah.
you used to submit your name and you used to say your name. And I was always blown away because they would say Dad's name, but then they would say some gibberish, and I was like, he's speaking his other language, but it was my name. He was like, go home, Jonathan, blah, 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 blah. It was just like, that was the only highlight I got from that whole trip. And I was like, I could have gone to Disneyland. It probably would have been better.
Yeah, and honestly, like, that was one of the things, besides our family's obsession with board games, our Disneyland vacations was like the one thing that like really united us as a family. Like,
Yes.
those are honest one of the greatest, happiest moments of our lives are on those vacations, and so it's definitely made an impact in my life. And then my senior year, I actually had the same language arts teacher for my junior and senior year, so when we had to do biographies, she saw that it was Walt Disney. Well, there's a funny story about my reports on Walt Disney. So back when I was in high school, we used to have to turn in our homework on this website, turnitin.com, which checked for plagiarism. And so my senior year, I submitted my Walt Disney biography, and it came back 98% plagiarized, and my teacher was all like, "Oh boy, what's he plagiarizing?" And she looked, it was my report from the year prior, and she asked me, "It's like, should I even read this, or should I just give you the same grade?" It's different. I always changed my Walt Disney biographies, focusing on different aspects. But yeah, you would deal with same subject matter, same lines, quotes, and things like that. So yeah, there was going to be a lot of similarities.
Was it a good grade? Or was it like
I don't remember. It was, knowing me, it was probably like a D. I don't know. I wasn't very good in school.
D for Disney.
D for Disney. That's right.
That's what I was shooting for.
But then my language arts teacher, she pulled me over at the end of class one day. She goes, "Hey, you might be interested in this," and she handed me the thing for the college program, which actually, I am different from you guys, because actually I did not do the college program. I did the Career Start program, which was, I had no college. I just went straight from high school right to Disney. So I want, because I would, attribute, because I had no idea about a college program that even existed prior to my teacher pointing that out to me. And so I went with my dad. We went and watched a little video presentation, which now they probably all do that online. They don't even meet up anymore, probably.
Mine was online.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
That was
don't
like
meet
10
up.
years ago.
Yeah. So, this was back in my day. We had interviews face-to-face for the college program. But there was 5 people there that night, and the one thing I will always remember, me and my dad always hitting our heads on some of these people that were there. They're trying to give out the free swag, giving out free t-shirts and pencils or whatnot. And they're asking trivia questions. And eventually, the people were not getting them. And so they just had to resort to "Oh, what's your favorite Disney character?" And someone would be like, "Bugs Bunny." And my dad would just be like, "You gotta be kidding me. What are you doing here?" But I do remember, and this is one of my favorite stories I tell people about how I got my job working at the Tower of Terror, was I was in the interview, and she saw my list of wants, and I only put I wanted to work attractions. She says, "You sure you don't want to work food
That's the
service?"
biggest trap when they ask you
Oh,
that question.
absolutely.
It's
Oh, are you
always a
okay?
trap.
Or can you? Or is it an option to work custodial or
No.
fast?
No,
That's
no.
the big. That's
Always
the big
say
trap.
no.
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 I'd rather not do this than.
And so I only had attractions there. And then she goes, "So what attraction would you want to work at?" And I go, "Well, my friends would think I would work really well at the Haunted Mansion or at the Tower of Terror." And she goes, "Really? Why is that?" And she goes, "Oh, because I'm really creepy." And she looked at me what is going on? And then I just kind of stared back at her, and then we just both started laughing hysterically. And then, long story short, I got exactly what I wanted. And even when I got there, I forgot what she looked like, but she didn't forget me, because as soon as I got to Florida, I walked in to get my room keys and signing in for the first time, and she's all like, "Hey, I recruited him!" And I'm all like, "Hi."
Don't embarrass me.
And she was even there when I took my traditions class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she was all like, "Yeah, I recruited him." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
You guys all suck.
And she was very
You're
proud.
food service. You're custodial.
Oh, that was always the fun.
You're doing
thing,
laundry.
So, yeah, and I loved my job at the Tower of Terror. And the one thing that I really took, it helped me get out of my shell. I was a loner. I kept to myself. All my friends were super popular, but I was not. So, I didn't have. I wasn't very outgoing. But when I went to Disney, I told myself that this was going to be different than high school. I was going to get out of my shell, and I did. And I went out of my way to get into my role as the creepy bellhop. And I thought I did a pretty good job, well enough that I had some managers that didn't like some of the things I did, but I did have some that did like the things that I did enough that he would always bring the VIPs to my elevator so I could spiel for them. So that was always cool. I got to see a bunch of VIPs that most of which I had no idea who they were, but they were VIPs that the managers were taking up. So yeah, I did that first semester, and you know, Disney's always been a very big part of my life. Both the theme parks, I'm a big Disney history buff right now. Like, I'm really fascinated with the Eisner era of Disney. Like, that section of Disney history is very interesting to me. And music. Like, that's, like, I would always tell people, like, how long, like, and this was a while ago, so the music collection, the Disney music collection we have now is vastly larger now, but back then I did an experiment of how long it would take to play through all the different Disney music we had, and it literally took 5 full days non-stop playing of just Disney music. And this includes the different variants of It's a Small World, like the 30,000 versions of It's a Small World that there are, and things like that. So like, and so yeah, like the music's always been a very important part that brings me into the magic, and I love so much. But yeah, that's, I know I feel like I've been kind of rambling and talking on for a while here, but that's that. And I feel like that's me me and my Disney in a nutshell. Even though I feel like I've been talking forever here, so.
That felt like that way for us too. So.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Peter is the biggest fan out of both.
No, stop! Don't stop! Keep going! Keep going! No.
So Peter, if you did attractions, so
Yes.
if you couldn't do, let's say, like Haunted Mansion or the Tower of Terror
Mm-hmm.
back then, what
Okay.
ride would you have liked to work at during your career start? CP wannabe experience.
I was a CT, not a CP.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So probably something that would go on my more theatrical side. So I would probably lean more on a Jungle Cruise sort of role, one or a Great Movie Ride at the time.
Those are very popular for those.
Those are very popular.
Those
That
people.
require a little bit more
Pizzazz
to do in a way that people enjoy.
The best Great Movie Ride experience was probably a hungover guy where he's just like, "Get away, you wicked witch!" Like, it was the best. That was worth it. Yes. So you would have done far better than those people, probably.
So,
Oh, watch out! There's an alien popping out of the ceiling. Watch out! He's gonna get ya.
today, if you went back to work for Disney, any role, what would it be?
I mean, I think I've already said I would work at Rise, but now I feel like that's a cop out right now because that's a great role because you're playing 2 different parts when you work that attraction, and so there's a lot more creativity there. I would love to be a tour guide again because that kind of goes to my history side. I love spewing random Disney facts and sharing my know-it-all with people. Like, one of the things that my role has become recently is showing people who have had bad experiences, especially like going to Disneyland and having a bad time, and taking them and showing them how you can have the best vacation ever. And I've yet to have an unsatisfied person come with me that's like, yeah, it was okay. No, most of the time they're like, man, you know how to do it. And I'm like, it's right. As soon as you know how to do it, it's fun.
It's true. It takes a little while to like master the skill of enjoying a park at Disney.
Absolutely. It's not for the faint of heart. Only the truest of truest people can truly endure through a day.
The
in the park.
truest experience that anyone truly can experience.
Yes, the truly a true. True.
I just remember growing up, I was so tired. We were at Disneyland, and I was like, I want to go home. And my father was like, no, we will be here till it closes.
Yes.
So, and I've kind of adopted that rule now, as my brother can tell you that from the last time we went together, it was all like, no, we got here at opening, we're gonna be here to close at midnight, and he stuck it out. Our wives, they did not want to, but he stuck it out with me, and that was definitely a struggle, because I know now that I have kids, I have to wait till they get a little bit older till I can really do that, push them to stay out till midnight, because we took them this last trip, and I'm literally like wobbling my oldest son to walking to our hotel because he's so asleep, but he's big enough that I can't carry him anymore, and so like I'm like wobbling him across the parking lots, and yeah.
That reminds me when we went with Dad and we got like extra magic hours early, and it was like 7 o'clock, and the park closed at 12.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like 11 o'clock. We're like, we're at Thunder Mountain. It was probably like our third or fourth time of the day. And I remember there's nobody in line really. And we're just going, and I'd just stop, and I'd sit on the floor, and then the line would move, and I would just kind of just drag my body in the queue. And I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't fun. But yeah, just you look back and you're like, oh yeah, those were fun times. Hindsight, you know.
Yeah. Now that I'm a little older, I don't think I could do all days anymore.
You can do it. Believe in yourself. You can do it.
But going home and taking a nap is great too.
No, that's like a betrayal of everything. If anything, you just go on great moments with Mr. Lincoln. You can take a nap in there.
That's true. Cool
You go
off.
sit, just do a few rounds of that, and then you're good.
Okay.
Chairs are a bit more comfortable than the tiki room. Tiki room, you'd have to get up against the wall because.
But you can lay down. They have benches.
Well, I guess now you can with social distancing. You can. Well, no, they might yell at you for laying down. So.
That's all the time we have. Thanks for joining us and getting to know our Disney side. Let us know what makes you a Disney fan. Discuss with your family and friends if you would rather stay at home and watch a Disney movie or go to the parks from open to close. You can follow us on our Facebook page, Instagram, or email us at matterhornyodlers@gmail.com on what you would rather do. Next time, we'll be battling different Disney characters against each other. And remember, the 3 o'clock parade starts at 3 o'clock.